Hello everyone. So the next topic is about the uptake of the mineral ions, that how do plants uptake the mineral ions. So let's start with the first slide of this introduction. So mineral nutrients, if we go with the definition of mineral nutrients, then mineral nutrients are the chemical elements that is required as an essential nutrient by all the plant species to perform all the necessary functions. So mineral nutrients are responsible for the growth and development of the plant. So they are responsible for all the necessary functions that takes place in the plant. Mineral nutrients, they are absorbed by the soil through the plant roots. So plants, they require 13 types of minerals, and that include both the macronutrients and the micronutrients. The nutrients help to perform the various functions. So macronutrients are those that are present in large amount in case of the plants, and the micronutrients are those that are present in very low quantity. A macro also plays a major role in the plant growth and development. Micro also plays, but it not that much as compared to the macronutrients. So the nutrients, they help to perform various functions. So what are the functions will be displayed in the next slide, that what are all the functions being performed by the macro and the micronutrients. So these are the functions of the nutrients in the plants. There is a rapid growth in the case of the plants. They provide the strength to the plant. They are responsible for the photosynthesis process. They improve the quality of the fruits. They help in the reduction of the diseases in the plants. They also help in the chlorophyll formation. Once the chlorophyll is being formed, it will help in the process of photosynthesis by the absorption of light. It also helps in the root growth and the seed formation or production. And it also is responsible for the building of proteins and other biomolecules. So how do the plants, they uptake the mineral nutrients? So the mineral uptake is a natural process in which all the essential minerals enter the plant cellular material, typically following the same pathway as that of water. So how does the water how does the water being uptake in the plant is by the xylem tissues. So here the uptake of mineral nutrients occur both at the root and the leaves. So it will occur at both the levels, at the root level also and at the leaves also. Now there are two active absorption. There are two mineral uptake of two types of mineral nutrients through which the uptake happens. It is by the active absorption and the passive absorption. So we will be discussing each of these in detail. Now what is active absorption? Active absorption, it is an active process, as the name suggests, active mineral absorption, which means it is an active process. It requires the expenditure of metabolic energy, which means it requires the ATP for its functions. It occurs both along and against the concentration gradient by the process of osmosis or through special carrier proteins in the plasma membrane. So they will also help in the special proteins. Now what is passive mineral absorption? As the name suggests, it is also a passive process. But in case of passive absorption, it does not require the metabolic energy, or the ATP does not require any energy. This type of mineral absorption occurs along the concentration gradient by simple diffusion. So this process takes place by the process of simple diffusion. Next, what is the mechanism of mineral absorption? So the mineral absorption takes place in three ways, that is ion exchange, the carrier concept, and the Donan equilibrium. So these are the three ways in which the mineral absorption or uptake of the mineral absorption takes place in case of the plants. So we will be discussing each one of these. So first, ion exchange. So according to this theory, ions from the external solution in which the tissue is immersed may exchange with the ions absorbed on the surface of the cell wall or the membrane of the tissue. So it is responsible for the absorption on the surface of the cell wall or membrane on the tissue. Now ion exchange has been further divided into two parts. What are the two parts? That is the contact exchange theory and the carbonic acid exchange theory. So these are the two parts in which the ion exchange theory has been further divided. Now the next mechanism of mineral absorption uptake is the carrier concept. What is the carrier concept? The carrier concept is derived from the word the carrier protein. So we will be discussing in this only. The absorption of the ions is facilitated by some proteins on the plasma membrane, which is called as carrier proteins. So that is why the name, the carrier concept came in the picture by the name carrier proteins. So what happens is the carrier proteins are combined with ions to form the carrier ion complex. So they form the carrier ion complex, and this carrier ion complex can move on the plasma membrane. So when this complex reaches the inner surface of the membrane, they release the ions into the lumen of the cell. So they release the ions into the lumen of the cell. So after this, the carrier proteins will go back to the outer surface to accept the new ions. So it will accept the new ions once it will go back to the outer surface. Now the next concept is about the Donan equilibrium. So what happens in this, there is an accumulation of some mineral ions which is inside the cell against the concentration gradient. So it is against the concentration gradient, and they does not require any kind of energy. So they does all the process without the expenditure of the metabolic energy. So according to this theory, inside the root cells there are some ions which are called indiffusible or fixed ions, and they do not diffuse outside through the plasma membrane. So they do not diffuse outside through the plasma membrane. Once the absorption of anion, in this case, causes an equilibrium of both the cation and anion inside the cell. So that is why this is known as Donan equilibrium, because there is a equilibrium of both the cations and anions inside the cell. The meaning of equilibrium is just the same. So this type of equilibrium is called as Donan equilibrium, and the root cells, they can absorb any minerals in this ionic form. So the root cells can also absorb any minerals in their ionic form. So this was all about the mineral uptake in case of the plants, and these are all the references